Welcome to Rewatch and Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each episode against each other. Today's episode is Deathnote Part 2, Episode 32, Selection. And now for a brief reminder of what happened in the episode. So this episode is basically Mikami's backstory, how he grew up, some of the tragedies he faced, and also how it was that he felt about Kira and decided to reach out to Kira, and then basically how he was selected to become the new Kira. And as he's working, because he hasn't had contact from Kira, he's acting on what he believes Kira would want, and so he elects a new spokesperson for Kira, and this new spokesperson happens to be Kiyomi, who went to college with Light and who he briefly was considering dating before Misa interfered. And so once Kiyomi is revealed to be Kira's spokesperson, the task force becomes aware of this, and Light at first is a little bit troubled, but then realizes it's a good thing because if he was Kira, he wouldn't have chosen somebody that he knows. So the very fact that he knows her is actually pretty good for him, as it does help to alleviate some suspicion. And so he decides to propose to the task force using his connection to Kiyomi to try to get closer to Kira, because she obviously has a way to contact him, and as they were acquainted previously, this could lead to some good things. So then he has the task force bug a hotel room, invites Kiyomi to the hotel room, and then once he's there, he basically sits with her in silence for a bit. She gets a call from Kira. He takes the phone. He speaks in code to reveal to Mikami that he is Kira. And then once he's spoken to Mikami over the phone, he then basically tells Kiyomi that she can be the goddess of the new world and they should date, and reveals that he is Kira to her. Then, once he leaves the hotel, he gets back in touch with the task force and basically tells them that he's going to fake date Kiyomi in an attempt to get information on Kira from her. And that is where we end this episode. So now that we have been reminded about what happened, we'll rank the episode. We'll use our mostly objective ranking list, which uses set values to determine the score based on key storytelling elements, and then the personal ranking, which is more the emotional response to the episode. So we start the episode with the single arc supporting character development, and this, of course, is Mikami's past. We learn that he was bullied as a child. He wasn't originally, but then he saw another child being bullied, and his sense of justice led him to step in to try to prevent the evil. Unfortunately, that resulted in him becoming the target of the bullies, and there was no him to step in, and so he ended up bullied by all of the bullies in the class, and everybody else just became bystanders to watch. Then his mother kind of lectures him about, his behaviors and his ideals, and then there is a car accident which kills 4 of his bullies in the classroom. Unfortunately, his mother is a bystander to the accident that ends up also dying. But after she has died and the 4 bullies have died, the classroom becomes peaceful. And so this is why Mikami believes so much in Kira's method, as he believes that once you've removed the evil, then peace can come. And so he reached out and went to debates and other events that were held regarding Kira. This is also where he met Kiyomi, which is why he chose her to be the spokesperson for Kira. And then also +1, we have Kiyomi Takada, who was able to be made the spokesperson for Kira by Mikami. Then we have a +2 for the single episode or single arc main character development, which is where we learn that Mello has bugged Misa and Light's apartment and has been watching Misa, and he comments on the fact that she's suspected to be the second Kira, but she's really dumb. And he's not sure that she's capable of being the second Kira. But we only see him very briefly for him to make that comment. And then we have +4 for our multi-arc main character development, which is Light revealing his identity as Kira to Kiyomi and also Mikami over the phone, and his fake dating of Kiyomi beginning. Which brings this episode to an 8 out of 10 episode. So our part 2 rankings so far brings selection in first, then justice, father, transfer, abduction, and impatience. So for my personal ranking, I didn't think that there was anything overly negative about the episode. I think Light is maneuvering fairly well with his new plan with regards to Mikami and Kiyomi. I mean, obviously, giving Kiyomi the book without, or not Kiyomi, sorry, Mikami the note without any sort of instructions led to Kiyomi being named Kira's representative by Mikami, which is not within Light's plans originally, though he does feel that he can use it. And he does end up taking advantage of it. And then we get a lot of, Mikami's backstory, and that is important because he is now, what number of Kira are we on now? Like 4th? Anyways, he's yet another Kira, and so getting to know him a bit more from an audience perspective, I have no problem with that. I did feel like the episode on a whole wasn't necessarily the most engaging episode, but there again was no negatives to the episode, which is why I decided to give it a 6 out of 10. Which then brings the list to, in first place, father, selection second, justice, transfer, abduction, and then impatience in 6th. So then we come to our series ranking so far, and we have our mostly objective ranking for part 1 at 70.77%, and then part 2 has 28 out of 110 so far. On the case of the personal ranking, we have part 1 at 60.38%, while part 2 is 26 out of 110. And with that, we've now rewatched and ranked Death Note Part 2, Episode 32, Selection. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.